Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults.
And more Polish murders.
More Polish sausage. I mean, murders and beer and stuff. So,
Yes.
yeah. Welcome to part two. The originally unscheduled part two.
Yes.
Kind of a last minute executive decision. Just like, because something's happening, coming soon, and we want to be able to have a little bit of padding. So it's just like, okay, first episode, the first subject went a little over an hour, so we have another subject to go, so we might need a padding or whatever because something else is happening. But for what I will say about that, put a knife in that.
Kerstab.
Yeah, so I think that I think you guys will. Well, it's going to be interesting. You agree there, History Goon?
Oh, yeah. This is a weird fucking episode. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about the next two-parter.
Yeah. That's. I mean, it's going to be a weird episode, but yeah, it's going to be good. It's it's probably people that folks have heard of before.
Yeah, but we're going to have a guest on that one too.
Yeah, that's true. So. It's one of the murderers, actually.
Yeah, one of the murderers. Yeah. Anyway,
see, you work in a medium where you could potentially have, like, somebody that was in prison for a murder, or someone who survived through that. I generally don't, because, like, I mean, my most recent episode, one of those guys is dead. Coming up, I've got like one of them. Everybody is 1,000% dead because it happened during the Roman Empire. But
coming up on what?
On History Goon, where all fine podcasts are sold.
Okay, so this is part two. This is we just did Caught the Vampire, and now they caught the vampire. And now we're doing the Ed Gein Wannabe.
Yeah. And again, this is going to be, I wrote these both very similarly, where we don't know who did it until towards the end. Because
sneaky.
Yeah. Because, every once in a while you got to change up your writing style to really confuse the shit out of yourself when you're reading.
Okay, well, I'm going to be right there with you, listeners, because I have no idea who this chucklehead is, and I couldn't even spell his name so I just wrote Ed Gein Wannabe, like we talked about in episode 1 last week, which was actually about an hour ago.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, we find ourselves in the tropical paradise of Krakow, Poland. And, again, this is an odd one. Honestly, I'm not real sure if there's even a conclusive ending to this episode yet.
So it's an unsolved case?
It's not unsolved. It's just...
Because I've only covered one unsolved case in the entire existence of this podcast. I've only done one, and I want to keep it that way. I was kind of hoodwinked into doing that one. I was persuaded.
But put it this way, it's potentially not fully through the court system yet.
Oh, okay.
So, because, like, there was COVID and all that stuff that may have thrown a monkey wrench in here. But, again, this is also an episode that I wrote a while ago. When we get to the end, if we want, we can do an ADD break, and I can see if there's any.
That's right, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got my sound for that.
I'll have to put it in later, though. But
that's good. That's fine.
Yeah.
So our victim is a girl named Katarzyna, who is better known as Cassia to her friends and family. Because
that's a beautiful name.
It is. It's a great
beautiful name. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's not a pretty language, but some of their names pretty damn cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Cassia here was born July 1st, 1976, to Antony and Marta Zawada. She's definitely a daddy's girl. Her and her dad spent a lot of time together. And one of their hobbies that they really bonded over was hiking. And on one of these hikes, in January of 1996, her father slipped and fell off a goddamn cliff and ended up with a pretty gnarly spinal cord injury.
As one does when one falls off of a cliff if they survive.
Yeah, and, like, due to an infection that developed, he would end up dying January 19th of that same year. So it was pretty quick. Like, pretty quickly he died from the infection. And of course, she blames herself for her dad's death, even though it's not her fault. It never was her fault. It never was going to be her fault.
Yeah, shit happens.
But it was, I'm assuming that it was more like, hey, Dad, let's go for a hike. And he went, yeah, sure, let's go. And because it was her idea and he got hurt, she feels like it's her fault.
Right.
So she would end up pretty deeply depressed from this whole thing, and credit to her, she ended up trying to get help.
Okay.
And her mother just so happens to be a psychologist. And she was really happy to see that her daughter was going to get help. And obviously it's not going to be through her, because you can't do that. You can't do that. But Mom can recommend somebody, and I'm assuming that's what happened. After high school, Cassia was described as very intelligent by those who knew her. Decided to enroll at the... Oh, Christ on the cross. I'm going to go with Jagiellonian University at Krakow. Dude, holy shit. I just had 2 cops and an ambulance go by my house. What the fuck's going on? That's weird. She opted to go to school for psychology, maybe to follow in Mom's footsteps a little bit, or maybe because she wanted to be there to help other people that would potentially be going through a traumatic event like she did, where she had somebody right there to help her out with it.
Right.
That's a noble thing to do. The only thing that she didn't do, apparently, was light up a room when she walked into it.
Oh.
So
kind of mean?
No, it's just that's just one of the only, like, the few times that I've read anything about a victim where they didn't immediately, like, oh my God, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that whole thing where, like, they were just the greatest person. Their smile was fantastic.
There's a podcast
I
called,
telling me about that.
Never Light Up a Room.
But, like, you never hear anybody, like, on, like, an investigation.
Oh, wait. Hold on. There.
You never hear anybody on, like, an investigation discovery thing, like, talking about the victim where they're like, no, he was kind of a prick, actually.
Right.
They're always the nicest person that's ever existed. They love kids and animals, and they help the fucking homeless. It's never just like, he was an asshole. You never get that.
And we say that on just about every episode, too. So
yeah, it's like, I wish... For once, why can't the victim have been a prick, you know? And have people like... I've only been able to say that once, and that was on an episode of my show, History Goon. when I talked about Joe Barbosa, when after he got killed, they asked his previous attorney, like, hey, how do you feel about this? And he's like, he was my client, but there's no great loss to the human species with him being killed. Like, okay, cool. Anyway, but not long after, she decides to change majors to history and eventually to religious studies. The change in the major happened over the course of her first year in college. She continued her treatment into college, and on Thursday, November 12th, 1988 at 6 p.m., guess what that means?
We have a date.
And a time. Cassia was scheduled to meet her therapist for her appointment. Her mom shows up at the office just to make sure that she made it there. Except on this particular Thursday, she didn't show up. So I'm assuming her mom would go to the office and wait for her to get done to bring her home.
Right.
So she never showed up for this appointment. This was very odd because she was usually pretty well on time for just about everything. And after a little bit, Mom heads home to see if she...
That's another thing. All of these victims, they're always on time for everything. It's always so out of character whenever they don't show up on time.
Yep. And that's the only way anybody would ever know that I was killed by a fucking serial killer, is if I didn't show up 5 minutes early to whatever I'm supposed to be at. Because that's just how I operate. If I'm not 5 minutes early, I'm actually late. which, not going to talk about my marriage because we need to be there. We need to be there at 7. Okay, so we're going to leave at fucking 7:15. That's how we roll. Anyway, so she's usually on time for everything, like we said. Mom heads home thinking maybe she forgot about her appointment. She's not there either. From here, Marta would go to the Dominican order, which is kind of a strange choice because for most people, most of the time, these are guys that are going to be trying to help pull people out of cults in this area. The Dominican friars, I guess, are pretty big on like anti-cult behavior, which is kind of cool to know.
Correct.
They're also very, very good at baseball. After not finding her there either, she finally went to the police. But since she was an adult, Cassia was 23 when she went missing, the police told her that she couldn't be reported missing for at least 24 hours.
Oh, 24. Okay.
Yeah, because adults disappear all the time and then they come back. I hate that rule.
Right.
Because why can't you just send somebody out in a cop car with a picture of this chick to drive down a couple streets and be like, oh, hey, there she is. Roll the window down. Your mom's looking for you. Why the fuck don't you go home? But we have to wait until the general period of time has passed where you're most likely to have been killed by whoever abducted you. Then we'll go look for your body. Seems legit. Anyway. So Mom feels like she's being stonewalled by the police, so she reaches out to a private investigator that was recommended by someone at the Dominican order. After months of searching and coming up empty, the case goes cold. There were occasional sightings of her. One time she was seen getting on a bus. Another time she was seen visiting a grave at the Batonwicki Cemetery. And another in the town of... and another time she was seen in the town of Zakopane. I didn't pronounce that right. 1998 comes to a close and 1999 starts, still with no sign of Cassia. January of 1999, a tugboat captain by the name of... Oh, boy. I'm gonna spell this for you that I'm gonna try to pronounce it.
All right.
M-I-E...
K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E.
M-I-E-C-Z-Y-S-L-A-W.
I wasn't far off.
I'm going to go with Mikolslav, something like that. Dude, I can't pronounce any of these fucking fermented cabbage names. So he runs into a problem with his boat. He figures there's, probably maybe like a stick or something stuck in the prop, which is pretty common because they're in the Vitsla River, and it's pretty polluted. There's always branches and shit in the river. So the captain kills the engine and floats into like the docks and ties off for the night. The next morning, January 6th, the captain and a deckhand get to the task of cleaning the props.
Oh no.
That's when they make a quote-unquote unsettling discovery. They pulled something leathery, quote-unquote something leathery, from the blades of the motor. When they got it onto the dock, they realized very quickly that they were looking at a vest made out of human skin.
Oh no.
When the detectives showed up, they confirmed, yep, that's human skin, all right. They... Remember, we were talking privately, like when I was mentioning what I could bring to the table for this one,
right?
And I told you that the medical examiner might have a, what's the nicest way to put this? Sub-room temperature IQ.
Yeah.
He decides that this is most likely Someone who has been hit by a boat and had their skin ripped clean off the bone.
I have questions.
I figured you would.
Now, okay, we can kind of, okay. I've seen such things happen in bad horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no clue they were based in reality.
Yeah, no. So obviously, our medical examiner realizes his first guess was probably wrong, and that the skin had been sliced off, not ripped off by a boat propeller.
Right. God, there was something. I don't know. That sounds familiar, like in a case that I might have covered at some point.
I'm getting a hint of subpar cheese.
Of what?
From the location. Maybe Wisconsin. Fight me. Our cheese is better.
No. I'm not talking about Ed Gein.
Oh.
I'm talking about skin or something getting ripped off by boat propellers. That I don't know if it was in a movie or if it was in a case that I've covered.
Huh. That sounds like a movie thing, but I mean, you never know. Like, art imitates life.
So. Right. Anyway, hashtag, but I digress. Haven't said that yet. Didn't say that at the previous episode. So last week's episode.
So after, I'm assuming, looking at this from not across the street, he gets a better look here, and he decides that the skin has been surgically removed with no bone fragments or excess fat connected to it. And he described it as, quote, human skin from the front part of a body without bone tissue, with a visible navel and fragments of pubic hair. So again, when you're not looking at it from a fucking moving car, you can get a better idea. The investigators went back into the river and started dredging, and within a week, they found a section of butt cheek and a leg still connected to each other. After testing, they found the skin, butt meat, and leg all belonged to the same person.
Oh, shit.
And they had been in the river for about 3 weeks. I want to mention that while we are at the river, this is potentially haunted water, which I know that's probably not something you've ever had anybody say in your show before.
No, haunted water, no. Although I have been some places where I've drank water that I swore it was haunted.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some Russian water that I thought was haunted too, but it was just me. It's like at the bottom shelf, and it's like Popov or something like that. You may as well have just drank floor cleaner instead. It has about the same effect. This is the same river that prisoners from Auschwitz had been forced to go to and like cut ice blocks out of in the winter.
Oh, shit.
And then this is also potentially, allegedly, a place where when they would cremate bodies, they would throw the ashes into here. But again, we have no evidence of that because they're ashes and the water moves and takes them somewhere else. So who the fuck knows?
Right.
But this river passes directly by Auschwitz within forced march distance, at least.
Oh, shit.
Before locating the killer, they need to know the identity of the victim. Okay, this was in, what did I say, 1999? Right?
I think so.
This case would be the first time DNA has been used to identify a person in Poland for a crime.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Really? For 1999? I would have thought that, I'm sure we had been figuring that out for a couple of years by then at least, right?
Yeah, but, I mean, not everybody got access to it immediately. I mean...
Yeah, that's true. It's like Friends was on.
Well, God, once again, there's this case that was going on. The first British man to ever be caught with DNA was literally God, I don't remember. I think this wasn't a case that we covered, but right down the street from where this guy got caught was where the DNA discovery actually took place, and the first person that got caught in England with DNA was literally just a few miles away from where the discovery happened.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I can't remember what podcast that was. It might have been Murder Coaster.
I was waiting for the button. And this part is where, because we're finally using DNA, it'd be the DNA that led the police right back to Marta's door with a summons for her to accompany them to the police department to discuss, quote, a murder with particular cruelty. They said that to her at her door.
Yeah.
Okay. They then broke the news to her that everything found, in fact, because they showed her pictures of all of this stuff, and then they told her, this is all your daughter.
Oh, God.
How fucked up is that? A few days later, on the 14th, workers found the other butt cheek and the other leg stuck in a grate in the river, like a filtration grate.
Great.
The cuts matched the other parts, and the DNA matched as well. And again, this is the first time. So not only is this the first time that they've used DNA to find a relative, like a direct blood relative, it's also the first time in Polish history that the DNA would lead to an identification of a victim.
Right.
So they obviously have very little to go on. The police start interviewing her friends and people that she knew, including a guy named Jakob that she talked to at an underground record store. They took an interest in him because other women at the shop had said that, at moments he's kind of a creep, and he would get he's one of those guys where if you're in the store and you're looking for stuff, he'd come up and put his hand on your back or your shoulder and be like, "Hey, what can I help you out with?"
Yeah.
Doesn't
mean anything by it, but it's still personal space or whatever.
Yeah, he's not being intentionally creepy. Right. He's just, he doesn't have that, maybe I shouldn't touch people kind of thing in his head.
He's just being friendly. That's how he was raised.
Yeah, and then within talking to this guy for a couple of minutes, they're just like, he didn't do this. He's just a dude that, he's a hugger, He's a physical attention guy where he's gonna get your attention physically instead of being like, "Hey, the fuck are you doing in here?"
Right out of the gate, or just right now, I'm gonna say, put a knife in that.
Yeah.
Because, well, we'll get to that.
So, having run out of immediate suspects, they decide to take a closer look at the evidence and the psychological profile that they had put together by a lot of their top psychological profilers that they have in the area. They were bringing in other psychological profilers from all over Europe and the United States and Canada, because this is a weird case and they want to try to figure this out because, again, we found a fucking human vest.
They've got their own Ed Gein.
Yeah, it's this isn't your regular we found some drug enthusiast dead next to a trash can. Whatever. We can figure that one out. This is advanced.
Yeah. We got to put on our big boy badges.
Yeah. We have to do actual police work. Damn it. So it seems Poland was actually doing all of the due diligence that they could here, seeking help from everybody around the world trying to figure this out. The profile indicated that Cassia's killer was a male, duh, in his mid-20s or 30s, duh, a sadistic psychopath with a narcissistic personality disorder, again, duh, of above-average intelligence, probably, and likely had a job where specific knife skills would be used, like a butcher, surgeon, veterinarian, tailor, hunter, or fisherman. It is very likely... It's very likely that the killer stalked Cassia to determine if she was the, quote, right victim or not. And remember, this is about how the killer saw himself, not as others would view him.
Right.
With that being said, psychologists indicate he viewed Cassia as a potential likeness. Viewed Cassia as his physical likeness. Her height at 5'6", 5'7" and having a medium physical build. Police believe he befriended her to gain her trust, feigned interest in the things that she liked, and with Cassia, could just be any dude trying to pick up girls, you know. He would kind of figure out that she didn't really have a lot of friends or people that she felt like she could confide in, so she would likely take an interest in him as well because he's somebody that she can talk to, blah, 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 you know. The profile also suggested it was unlikely the killer had sex with his victim. Any arousal would have been derived from the pain, torture, and murder inflicted on his victim. And the anger or rage he expressed, although directed at Cassia, was not about her, but more about himself and what he was not, which would be a woman. So they're building...
There's more Ed Gein there. It sounds
exactly.
like sounds like they got a case file on Ed Gein open, you know, and they're reading from it.
I feel like this was like we had an American dude come in and be like, "Hey, I got a book you should check out by Harold Schechter."
Yeah,
you know, which by the way is a fantastic book, and he is a fantastic author. If anybody's interested in true crime stuff. But this definitely could have been some lead stuff. Be like, sounds like one of our guys. This was not to make him...
Ed Gein was innocent. He just went over to... the real killer went over to Poland.
Like fucking 40 years later.
Yeah.
This is what makes him a sexual sadist. This is all from this profile. The investigators start going back through the archives to see if anything similar has happened recently, and surprisingly, they come up with a case from June of 1985. This case is also very disturbing. A 48-year-old husband and father killed and skinned his wife and teenage son. Their bodies were found in the Vistula River, which is the same river that Cassia was found in. The body of the wife and son had been sliced from top to bottom, and their eyes had been cut out. The man convicted of these murders was also out of prison at the time of Cassia's death. The police are just like, open and shut, we got our guy. Until they tracked him down and interviewed him and realized he's in a wheelchair, and he's physically and mentally incapable of having committed this particular murder.
Oh no, Joe on Family Guy.
Yeah, right? All upper body.
Yeah, that guy can get around.
So now we're going to jump back to more current times. We're going to go to May 1999 when the police get a call from an old man's house. He says that he found a dead body in his basement, which is kind of a weird thing to find. You go down to get, like, you know, canned tomatoes or something. I jarred up all these minced tomatoes. I went down, I was going to make soup, and all of a sudden there's a dead body at the bottom of my stairs. This is odd. The forensic medical unit in Krakow received the body from the scene and discovered a 50-year-old male victim whose head had been severed and skin had been meticulously removed from the skull.
But it wasn't his.
No.
It wasn't me.
When police initially arrived at the scene, the older man told him he believed his grandson had killed his father, and the police found him singing and dancing in the kitchen. The older man had terrible vision, and after murdering his father, Vladimir tried to trick him by impersonating his father. So, grandson kills dad, wears dad's clothes and dad's face to confuse grandpa.
It's like the story of Jacob and Esau in the Bible. Jacob just they, like, put animal fur on his hands because his dad was blind, and he went in to talk about his birthright to his dad who was blind, and he's like, the voice is Jacob's, but the hands are the hands of Esau, because Jacob was a smooth, a fair, and Esau was hairy. It's like one of the weirder stories in the Bible.
Or like less biblically, if you've ever seen House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
When Otis rocks up to the thing wearing that girl's dad.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Oh, it's
but
so good. God damn, it's so good. It doesn't get enough credit. It really doesn't.
I disagree with you. I think it gets plenty of credit.
Oh, man. I've heard so many people just shit on that because they're like, Rob Zombie shouldn't make movies. Shut up. You go make it then.
Yeah, right?
You know? Was it Devil's Rejects? Absolutely not. That one was way better.
Yeah, definitely.
3 from Hell is like, I could take or leave it.
It was all right.
You know?
It's like, where did this guy come from? This new guy.
Yeah, it's like
one guy's dead. Oh, but we got this other. It's like when Vance and Coy showed up in Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh God, don't ever mention those two again. But 31, if you've never seen that one, is awesome. Very good.
Don't know if I've seen that or not.
Oh, it's like serial killer game show kind of.
And no, I haven't seen it. Gonna have to watch it.
The guy that plays the third in Devil's Rejects is in that, and he is so creepy. Like, creepy in the best way possible. So they start looking for connections between this Vladimir cat and Cassia, and they find that they went to the same college at the same time. So that's something to go on, I guess. They would end up finding that he had killed his father out of revenge. Vladimir's old man had left his mother, and he hated him for it, so we hit another dead end. The case goes cold after a full year passes with no new leads. The medical examiner that originally said she thought she'd been skinned and deboned by a boat propeller comes up with another theory, and this one makes even less sense than the first one.
It was hold on. Put through a wood chipper, and then it was like splattered up against a big wall of like really, really fast drying glue, and it all just kind of went right back together.
You're not thinking Looney Tunes enough, Bill.
That's not Looney Tunes enough.
He found that the body had post-traumatic stretch marks. This happens when someone falls from a high altitude or a fast-moving vehicle. He now thinks that she was tossed from a moving car, and some random maniac found her, picked her up, and skinned her.
When Sandra and I had OMG It's Wicks on, we covered a story where a man in Clearwater, Florida, of course, if OMG It's Wicks is on it, it's gonna happen in Florida. Like, we talked about a bunch of crazy Florida man stories, but this guy in Clearwater, rush hour, sees a dead possum on the side of the road.
As you do. And
he went over and took a shit on it. Just dropped his pants right in front of rush hour traffic, right on the side of the highway, takes a shit on this dead possum.
Why not?
So that became a running joke throughout that episode. That episode was great, so much fun. I want to have him on, but I doubt he'd come on because he has hit the fucking big time.
Yeah. What's hilarious though is like the rest of the world looks at the United States like the rest of us look at Florida, where we're like, this is where all the crazy shit happens. It's Florida and Ohio. For some reason, there's something in the water in Ohio that makes people there just weird as shit. And I love it. Like, I love Ohio, but it's just something about you guys. But since we're already talking about crazy shit that makes absolutely no sense, these guys are on a roll.
Hold on. There we go.
So the police do the next thing, the thing that makes the next most sense, other than assume that she was picked up like roadkill and taken home. They bring in, and I'm not kidding, Bill, I can share my screen with you if you'd like to see this.
Oh, I believe you.
They brought in a bunch of clairvoyants. One of them said that the police had found something in the initial investigation that was dismissed due to lack of evidence.
If you found something, how can there be lack of evidence? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here.
13 years later, after her initial discovery, the police start looking into her death again, and they now have some new tools to throw at this. They had a 3D body scanning tool that they ran everything through. Pathologists saw that there was extensive internal and external trauma, likely taking place over the course of some time, not from one isolated occurrence. They believe the injuries were from repeated strikes from someone who, quote, practiced martial arts. How they knew that? No idea. Something else that they found was some vegetation fragments on her skin that did not match vegetation from the river. It did, however, match a very small area of Krakow. This was the first new clue in this case in 13 years. So far, the physical evidence that we have indicates that Cassia has been tortured, tied to something with a chain, drugged by administering a sedative or painkiller of some type of injection.
Sorry about that. Didn't mean to do that.
Happens to me all the time.
I was trying to move it. I was trying to move it back down into my regular ones because I liked that. I was going to use it again. But,
absolutely.
But you can't move them, apparently.
Oh, that sucks.
So,
she was beaten with a heavy metal object, kicked and hit using martial arts moves.
13 years later, they're looking at something and determined that somebody went "Hi-ya!" on her.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Like he's got this girl fucking hanging from a meat hook, like and they're punching her like Rocky hitting a side of beef or something. This next part's not as funny. Skinned while still alive. Asphyxiated by the same chain that she was tethered to, and eventually dismembered. The exact cause of death would either have been from blood loss or asphyxia. No shit.
Yeah, right.
I didn't think that she, starved to death or something.
Well, it's like when it's like in 2020 and 2021, if somebody was killed in a motorcycle accident but they had COVID, it was a COVID death.
Weird how that works, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oops,
You've had stage 4 cancer for 8 months, and got to be COVID.
Anyway.
Yeah. That was a social experiment on how easy it is to control people. Anyway, 3 years later, Robert Janskowitz is picked up. As far back as the year 2000, Robert had been on the radar of the police. So within a year of her being found, this guy's on the radar. This is the first time they've spoken to this guy.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm remembering what you said at the outset of this episode about I'm not going to let you know who done it until the end. So I'm I'm pretty good at figuring out movies before the end of the movie. So I'm trying to do this here. I already have, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. A letter was sent to the police by a friend of his known as Leszek L., who owned a pet store in Krakow. At this time, Robert worked at the Institute of Zoology, also in Krakow. Leszek and Robert had been friends for a number of years, going back to grade school. The letter that Leszek wrote to police had been kept secret from the public for evidentiary reasons. Some of the information did become public from Robert's own father, Josef, during an interview with the same newspaper that Katarzyna's mother did an interview with, the Krakow Gazette. Supposedly in the letter to police, Leszek wrote that Robert used to bring him mice and rats from the Institute of Zoology that he could experiment on after they were dead. So that basically he was bringing this guy dead rats and mice and stuff that had been experimented on to feed to the reptiles at the pet store.
Okay.
So,
well, sometimes you get reptiles that won't eat dead food.
Right. Which was kind of strange because I knew that was a thing.
Yeah.
I know, like, fish don't really give a shit one way or the other. If it hits the water, they'll eat it. But
yeah.
Especially like snakes, I guess, are not big on dead stuff.
Some will. Some won't. It's just all up to the snake. Personal preference.
I like mine a little warm.
Warm, yeah.
Yeah. Or if it's pizza, like I'll eat it cold too, whatever.
Well, now, so when you have a snake like that, you have two options. You have three options. One, you can get rid of the snake by selling it, not by turning it loose. Two, you can just feed it live food, which in that case, when you're dealing with captive bred animals, you're putting the snake at risk. Or three, you can whack it and then drop it in there. And sometimes you can nudge it to make the snake think it's alive and everything.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant whack the snake.
No, whack the the whatever you're trying to feed it, whether it's a rat or a rabbit or whatever. So
yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, and if you've never heard a rabbit scream, I hope you never do, because that is a sound that once you hear it, it will haunt you for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
I've only heard it once, and I quit messing with snakes pretty soon after that.
You want even worse? I can give you worse.
Okay.
Listen to a fox kill a rabbit in the woods in the dark.
You'll think a person's being slaughtered. You
get the fuck out of the woods real quick.
Mm-hmm. No, I know what I know what a rabbit screaming sounds like. So if I heard that in the middle of the woods and I didn't know what I was hearing, yeah, I would think that somebody was being slaughtered.
Then you mixed fox screams in with it.
Right.
Those are not great either.
Sounds like there's like two people like ritually sacrificed or some shit.
Yeah, it's pretty not fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's worse than you hearing it the way you did is worse than how I heard it. So yeah. I'm sitting here talking to you like you didn't know what you're talking about, but not only do you know what it sounds like, you've had a worse experience than what I had.
Yeah. It's like you guys have dinosaurs down there. We just have fucking like shit that will eat you alive in the woods.
Shall we?
I know. See, but we also have something very similar where our Department of Wildlife or whatever yours is won't admit that there's some animals that are here that they're just like, no, we don't have those.
No.
Like mountain lions and wolves. We don't have those, but we totally have those.
We got that when we got that cold, when we actually got a winter this year. I was looking at this Facebook article and comments on it. Well, there was this woman from Michigan. She said, "Oh, y'all are talking about iguanas, iguanas falling from trees and stuff like that. Come up to Michigan. We'll show you what it's really all about." And I replied, I said, "But we have iguanas, dork."
I've heard they're actually not bad eating either.
No, they're not. I haven't tried it, but I've heard enough people tell me that they're pretty good. So yeah. I would try it.
Might be worth a shot. I mean, they're an invasive species anyway. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're there naturally.
Right.
Anyway.
Hashtag, but I digress.
So, Lezik told police that Robert used to kill and mutilate guinea pigs at the Institute, which he eventually got caught for and fired.
Guinea pigs are cute. How the hell can you... Well, they will bite the shit out of you.
Yeah, they will. Yeah. Fuck them. Like, rodents suck. Yosef, who is Robert's father, adamantly denies that Lezik's accusations were true. And he says that he made all of this up after Robert decided to put his foot down about bringing him mice and rats. They got into an argument over supply chain demands and stuff like that. And like, no.
This is playing out like one of those movies where just when you think it can't get any more weird or any more fucked up, hold my beer and watch this.
Yeah. A local woman whose name was not released also went to the police after word of Kassia's murder got out. It's rumored that she told police that she also believed Robert was the killer because he was known to walk around in women's underwear, harass women, and he lived very close to the river where he used to go fishing.
Underwear.
So he would go fishing there, and he seemed to really enjoy gutting fish.
By the way, once again, another Ed Gein tie.
Yeah, the gutting fish thing.
No, walking around in women's underwear.
Yeah. Sometimes walking around in women though.
He did. He walked around in women's underwear before he started walking around in women.
That's true. That's true.
There's a clip. There's a clip.
He's actually only a few hundred meters from where the skin suit was soon to be found. It's like one of his regular fishing spots. Now police decide to go look into him.
Would I be out of line if I said Cassia sure as hell gets around?
Oh, this poor girl.
Yeah, but still, they're finding pieces of her everywhere.
Oh no! What they were saying here is it was like a few hundred yards from where they found her was one of his like main fishing spots.
Oh, okay.
So he is super familiar with the area.
Okay.
So they went in and inspected his house, but they didn't have enough evidence against him, so they couldn't make an arrest. Police are still watching him and consider him a plausible suspect. Robert supposedly had a difficult childhood. There's arguments and violence at home. Robert's dad, Joseph, left his mother for another woman and later had a child with her. Robert was left in the care of his mother, and they lived in tenement housing, which is basically the project.
Section 8, basically.
Yeah. Neighbors and colleagues did not like him and saw him as, quote, a freak. When your coworkers think you're a fucking weirdo, you're probably a fucking weirdo. Because you spend more time with them than you do most other people.
This is true.
They did admit that he had an above average intelligence. He's also known for tormenting cats and dogs. Again, what did we say before?
Don't fuck with cats.
Dogs. You know. And he also liked fishing on the river that this girl was disposed of in. He could walk along the river for hours. He was also an audiophile. More specifically, the thing that really tickled his pickle were amplifiers, loudspeakers, and musical equipment, which he was able to build on his own.
Oh, cool.
You know, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty interesting hobby to have. As Bill points to his shit. Like, hey, look.
Well, that's only part of it.
I didn't do it, though.
That's a very little fraction of the toys that I have in here.
I mean, same for my backdrop, but
yeah.
One of them will have people calling the cops on you, the other won't. So he also trained in martial arts at a martial arts school in a nearby town. He also had a hard time in school. He was picked on pretty relentlessly by schoolmates for essentially being a little bit of a weirdo. He was scrawny and kind of a nerd at the time. And he was also kicked out of school after he mouthed off to a couple of the teachers. In the second half of the 1980s, Robert was commissioned by the... Robert was quote-unquote commissioned by the Polish army, meaning that he was mandatory service.
Conscripted.
Yes.
Drafted.
But he spent his mandatory service in a monastic hospital. It was a religious-run hospital by monks. Monastic hospital, that's what that means. This is allegedly where he refined his knife skills by mutilating bodies. Didn't really know that the Poles were involved in any kind of warfare in the 80s. What do I know?
I did know that was general warfare practice. It seems to be a rather time-consuming practice, and not really beneficial to battlefield tactics.
Yeah. I know you got shot, so instead of pulling the bullet out, I'm just going to see how much of your skin I can take off without you realizing it. What is this, the fucking 1700s? So things are looking very good for Robert as a suspect. The martial arts, the experience with cutting up and skinning animals and potentially people, the roof is starting to come down on this guy. After Kassia's death, Robert became very religious. According to some of the cemetery workers, after information about the clairvoyant's participation in the investigation was published in the media, Robert starts visiting Kassia's grave. It was alleged by one witness that he used to bring her letters and bury them near the grave, but none of them were ever found. Another person alleged that Robert would light a candle on Kassia's grave, and when one would burn out, he would return with another one. Robert starts to take precautions not getting caught, other than, potentially visiting the grave of his victim constantly. He cut himself off from the world. He installed a huge grate on the door of his apartment. He didn't have a phone or internet in his house. He basically became a recluse. But that wouldn't stop the police when they finally felt that they had enough evidence to again return to his house. Now, on October 4th, 2017, police came to Robert's house and placed him under arrest for...
Hold on, what was that?
What's that?
What was that?
On October 4th, 2017.
Which is a...
date. They placed him under arrest for the murder of Katarzyna Zawada. This is obviously not going to be a quick judicial process. At the time of writing this, it was entering its 6th year at trial.
6 years.
Yeah, so again, he was in court during COVID, so we really don't know. Hold on, you know what? I'm going to do a thing for my show.
Okay.
Let's take an ADD break.
All right, let's do that.
Hell yeah. Okay. Okay, so yeah, let's hop back in here.
Okay.
Okay, so I found an article from A&E, and I'm going to read directly from this.
Okay.
The trial that followed attracted widespread attention in Poland because of the disturbing nature of the evidence. Much of the proceedings took place behind closed doors. Prosecutors argued that, what the fuck was this guy's name? Peter? Was it Peter? I don't remember.
I don't know. Never said his name.
I did.
No, Robert.
There we go.
Yeah.
Prosecutors argued, because I'm not going to say his last name again. That's insane. Argued that Robert's anatomical experience and unusual behavior made him uniquely capable of committing the crime. They suggested that he lured Zawada to his apartment, killed her there, and then later dismembered the body before disposing of the remains in the river. In 2019, an investigative team cast doubt on the validity of the physical evidence linking Robert to the murder. Blood traces and hair samples the prosecution claimed were Zawada's. Defense attorneys agreed, arguing the prosecution's case relied heavily on circumstantial evidence. The evidence in Robert's apartment could not be conclusively linked to Zawada, and no witness had placed the two of them together on the day she disappeared. In 2022, the court convicted Robert and sentenced him to life imprisonment. For many observers, the verdict seemed to bring long-delayed closure to a case that haunted Krakow for more than 20 years. For others, many disturbing questions remained unanswered, including the reliability of witnesses prosecutors claimed linked Zawada to Robert. Then in October 2024, Poland's Court of Appeals concluded that prosecutors had failed to provide guilt beyond a reasonable doubt and overturned the conviction, invoking the legal principle that doubt must favor the accused. The court acquitted Robert. After nearly 7 years in custody awaiting trial and appeal, he was released. So this has now gone back to being an unsolved murder. Son of a bitch.
Well, kind of we've now covered 2 unsolved cases on CKCB.
Well, it's not my fault. Like, we thought it was solved, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as of the time I wrote that episode, it was probably solved,
Yeah.
Ah, damn it. Well, now I feel like a piece of shit for wasting your time.
No, that's still a fascinating story, regardless. I mean, maybe I should do more unsolved cases because they're still, I don't know.
You know, if I could find more information on it, there is a unsolved double homicide within, I don't know, a 10-minute drive from me in my town from the 60s that nobody knows. They found them on the side of the road, both shot to death in a car on a road that I've been down. I could drive down this road. It's a dirt road. Like, I could drive down it with all the curves and bumps and lumps and shit in it with my eyes closed and not hit anything. That's how many times I've been there. But, yeah.
Well, cool. I mean, that was a very interesting story. I mean, I'm sitting there, like, I was thinking it was the hug guy.
Yeah, at first, like, maybe, but...
I was thinking it was him.
Just kind of an odd duck, you know?
Yeah. Well, maybe it was the hug guy.
Maybe he got away with it.
Maybe he did. Maybe when he's hugging people, he's sizing up their skin. It's just like, okay, let's see. All right, you got some nice tight skin there. That'll do just fine.
I can tell you it wasn't me. I mean, I've never been to Poland, so... It wasn't me. I'm not that good with a knife. Like, I can skin a deer and stuff, but that's a little different because you're not super careful because you're not going to wear that.
Right.
You know, but, anyway.
All right. Well, thank you, History. Thank you, History Goofer. That's why I don't cover unsolved cases.
Son of a bitch.
No, that was a good one, though. That was a good one. I don't like listening to, like, true crime podcasts where it's just like... I hate it when they cover an unsolved case and they don't tell you until it's... and by the way, they never caught the guy. It's like, asshole, if I want to listen to an unsolved case, I want to know it's unsolved before going into it because, that's just not nice.
Yeah. Thanks for giving me blue balls. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, right? I'm just thinking that, but I didn't say
my stomach hurts. I have to go home.
So anyway,
God damn it, Bill.
It's got to be interesting. Interesting thing. Coming up with the next episode.
You might need to fire me.
Put a knife in that.
That's what we in the business call foreshadowing.
So, when I said don't fuck with cats, that's gonna make a little appearance in one of the parts of the upcoming episodes.
As long as we're not covering that guy from the documentary, because that is just some weird shit.
Oh, yeah, it is him. He's mentioned. He comes up in this story briefly.
Oh no, yeah, but you're not like covering him directly, right?
No, that was episode 2.
Oh Jesus Christ! I'm way out of the loop. Apparently,
that was episode 2. But now he comes up in the story very briefly, and that's only because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
So no, but he injected himself into this story.
I had a period of time in my life where I was like, hey, I'm going to go find all these weird videos on the internet, and that happened to be one of them.
Oh, damn.
That's unsettling.
Oh, I'm going to give a little shout out here as we're wrapping up. Last podcast on the left right now, they're doing a 2-part series on the guys that made the 3 Guys 1 Hammer video.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one too.
But did you know they killed 21 people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they went on a fucking tear.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah. But I've listened to part 1, part 2 hasn't been released yet. So, but anyway,
if anybody out there is interested in trying to find some really gross shit, try to find the Funky Town Massacre. Make sure that you don't plan on sleeping. It's not great. It's Mexican cartel stuff.
Oh,
where they're like, they're brutal.
Anyway,
I think one of the worst ones I've seen was they're like interrogating this dude. He's just like sitting there with no shirt on the floor in like this concrete room, and then you start to realize like, oh, that's a tarp behind him. That's weird. And you can like, he's crying, and then you see his eyes get real big, and then you hear a chainsaw, and I'm like, oh no. And then they do exactly what you think they're about to do with that chainsaw.
Cut down a tree?
Oh, mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because palm trees, they can go out of,
Yeah. They started about shoulder level of the tree and go horizontally.
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of want to do that, especially if you're gonna whittle. Although I don't recommend trying to whittle with a stump from a palm tree, because they're but still.
If you're gonna do that kind of woodwork, also you want to make sure that you got plenty of bar and chain oil in it, because you're gonna want it.
Yeah,
so it doesn't get stuck, which.
And palm trees can be really messy when you cut into them.
Yeah, there's a lot of juices
and like little bits and stuff of matter that come out of it, because they're just held together by, it's kind of like particle board.
Yeah, and screaming. There's always the screaming.
Yeah, the screaming. Palm trees scream when you. Yeah,
it's
kind of like a rabbit.
Yeah. Oh Christ. Oh my God.
Anyway, thanks a lot for listening, everybody.
Go listen to History Goon. I don't talk about gross shit while I do.
Yeah. But we appreciate the hell out of it. Oh, man. Until next week, later.
Bye.